Monday is this great channel. He's a great content creator whom I respect and I have enormous affection for him. I think that his work is phenomenal, and I invited him to do this guest video on my channel just so that you guys could get a sense of him and potentially go and join his channel. The links to his channels are in the description below. He is just terrific. I can't say enough good things about him. And so, yeah, rather than me yapping, why don't you listen to Monday, FA Monday, and go check him out. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Monday here. Coach Red Pill invited me to do a guest video for his channel, and I submitted a video with my guest here, Annika, to do a video on toxic femininity. So I hope you enjoy this guest video on Coach's channel, and for links to my channels, see the description box below. Hey everyone, Monday here. I've got Annika O'Brien to talk about her favorite subject, toxic femininity. Now, we're not going to go for a hard definition of what toxic femininity is. Rather, we're trying to point in the right direction, and that toxic femininity is a narrow, repressive type of idea about the female gender role that weaponizes both the status as a woman and exaggerated feminine traits. And where it comes from, or at least where it starts, is during childhood, school-age girls bullying one another. And it relies on built-in traits that women have, similar to how male bullying relies on built-in traits like men's physical strength and speed, whereas with women, it's going to be psychological.
Yeah, the aggression manifests itself differently.
Yeah, it uses emotional violence, and this might be why we're seeing the whole words are violence. Yeah.
Because to women, that is how we use our violence.
Yeah, that is how you use your violence.
That's how we're violent.
Yeah, that's how you express your violence, right.
Cut you down into little tiny...
Yeah, before I was recording, this woman tore me apart. You should have seen it. Right. So, and... Yeah, because in the female social world, that's the preferred form of aggression. It's also an invisible form of aggression, too.
Well, it's
because you can do it one-on-one and no one would see it.
Exactly. And yeah, you're not going to be... people will say, oh, don't get your feelings hurt, that sort of thing. Also because it's not...
but it's not just name-calling. We'll go into it.
Oh, yeah. No, women know how to cut really deep. Yeah. Men can, too, but this is a woman's game. So,
yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. This is where we excel.
Yeah. So let's start with school-age girl bullying. So we start.
So I don't want to go into kind of the history of what causes it, because I know a lot of people think that they immediately say, "Oh, well, a bully is probably an abused child."
Sometimes, but
probably, but we don't know. There's a lot of different things that could cause it, I think. But one of the biggest issues is a girl will get other girls to gang up and just stand around and watch as she belittles another girl. That's usually what it is. I think a lot of people think it's like 10 girls all ganging up and physically harming one. It's usually I don't want to use the word matriarch because I try to use that in a positive way, but you got like the leader.
The queen bee.
Yeah, the queen bee. Yeah, the queen bee. And then you got the girl
I had to mansplain that to you. Go on.
You get the girl who is the outcast, or the girl the target, right? And she will have her little entourage of girls who are her backup. And also it works as an audience to further the humiliation. Because if one person comes up to you and says nasty things, it's not as harmful. Right. It doesn't hurt you at your core. But if you're a child and you have 6 or 7 kids that are standing around staring, then you feel helpless. That's where that nobody loves me, everybody hates me feeling comes in, even though those kids are just falling in line behind the bully. Right. It's not that they hate you, it's that they're just standing there. Yeah. And they don't want to be the target. Yeah. So with the girls, they tend to do that. It's usually not physical. It can be like with college hazing.
Yeah. I saw stuff about that, how they'll pick body parts they don't like and draw black mark circles on them.
And they'll be really mean. Like I saw some pictures where they had blurred out the faces of the girls that were being hazed. And they were taking a girl who was in relatively good shape, and they were circling her thighs and calling it fat. And they were taking like portions of her body and they were writing really nasty things on it. And there's actually I think some of the hazing has gotten to the point where it's become illegal when when a girl has been disrobed and photographed against her will, and those photos have been distributed to other students, that falls into a category completely different, where the judge doesn't care the gender of the perpetrator.
Right.
Which I'm glad that we're getting to that point.
Finally.
It bothers me that there was a statement made by a judge who said, I had to stop and think, if a boy did this. I'm like, that's really messed up that you have that we're so gender imbalanced that way when we think of violence, or when we think of bullying. Yeah. That we have to stop and say, how would I react if this was a male? Right. Yeah, we have some progress to make. Anyway.
Yeah. There's also like the rumor spreading.
That's another one of the psychological ways. I think part of that might be even from a young age. That's the kind of the pecking order, or the trying to, like, telling all the guys that girl over there is a certain way. Maybe not a slut, but or if a girl has a male friend who has his eye on a particular girl and he asks for her advice, she might trash talk her, even if she herself doesn't like him. Yeah. But it's just it's a weird dynamic, and it's really disgusting. But it's taking that natural kind of thing that women have socially.
And with social media and the anonymity, or even sock puppeting, that you can, it's like a haven for that kind of that style of bullying. Yeah. For female style bullying.
Yeah, and then I know there have been boys have been bullied into suicide, and it doesn't make the national news quite like when a pretty girl does. And you could say that effect is partially due to the fact that we see females as victims more. We're more likely to...
And your lives are more valuable.
Well, we could go back to cave brain.
Because of the eggs, yeah.
Right? Yeah, because we carry on the offspring to the next generation for the survival of our species. Yeah. And so a lot of this is driven by survival of our species, and, kind of like the bird who wants to knock the other bird's eggs out of the nest to replace them with their own. There is a little bit of that. Yeah. But when it gets to a point where girls are harming one another. And the other thing that bothers me is with boys, we're so quick to pathologize them and to put them in a home and to tell them what they've done wrong. And even the justice system treats males one way, and then females, it's like, well, she'll grow out of it. Or especially, to bring up the justice system, a mother is far less likely to be separated from her children for multiple years, even after a murder. She's going to get a less harsh sentence. And a lot of that does have to do with this kind of we protect women more, and we don't want to believe that women are horrible.
Because you're delicate little flowers that need to be coddled all your whole lives,
Yeah, so we want to believe that women are this way. So women take that like kind, empathetic thing that we believe about them, and they weaponize it. And I think that's...
Well, did you notice during the Supreme Court hearings with Christine Blasey Ford how she talked in like a little girl voice?
Hi. And she'd play with her hair in a manner. She wouldn't, like, I have bangs, so I pull them out of my face a lot. Right. But she would play with her hair and do this thing.
Like she's a little girl.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. We don't need to go all into that case, or I'll get enraged. But
okay.
But yeah, her use of girlishness to act
to try to support her case,
prey upon a man, and doing it all from the like acting as though she's just a victim.
Right.
And then the other thing, if you want to go a little further into her and how she used it, was she would be pushed to answer questions, and then she would act like, she'd act like she had PTSD, or like she didn't understand something, or, my throat, like she was this helpless little person. And other people had said that prior to that, when she would discuss this subject of Kavanaugh, that she had no qualms about talking trash about the GOP or him or anyone else. So this wasn't a delicate subject for her, but she tried to, we all know that if a woman has been actually sexually assaulted, it's probably going to be a very difficult thing for her to discuss on stage in front of millions, hundreds of millions of people are watching this. That's going to be very difficult and taxing on you emotionally. Right. So she's using that And then we can also get into the rest of the Me Too movement, how we immediately want to believe victims of a crime, especially a crime as heinous as actual rape.
Yeah.
I don't mean, when I say that, I don't want to offend anybody. I mean like rape, not a girl and a guy break up and she later says, I didn't really want to date you anyway, so it was rape. I mean like rape.
Yeah.
Unwanted.
That would it doesn't have to be the rape issue, but that would be another element of another method of toxic femininity where a woman does something, not necessarily sex or kissing or making out or whatever, and then later says, I didn't really want to do that.
Oh yeah, showing off cleavage or acting in a very sexually suggestive manner, leaning into a guy, smiling into his eyes, and then when he makes a move, treating him as though he's this creepy,
where did you get that from? Yeah, why would you think that? Yeah,
and it's one thing I understand that just because a guy.
Notice I didn't react to her at all.
Yeah.
I
was doing that for effect.
You're toxic. I'm immune to your toxic femininity.
Oh, you flinched. Oh wow, I should beat you less.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that if a couple goes out and the man just purchases a dinner or they spend time together or even there's a hug or maybe a kiss, that doesn't warrant him the right to her body in any way.
What? Go on.
Okay. I hope people get your sense of humor.
That's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, we can all agree, the guy doesn't have like a right to her body just because he took her out. Yeah. But when a woman is being overly forward, the one that bothers me the most is when women wear...
Well, you're not saying he has a right to her body even when she's being overly forward. You mean like if he makes a move based on what she's been doing.
She doesn't just shut him down.
A move could be something like lean in for a kiss or put his arm around her and then, then she treats him like a creeper.
Yeah, she should learn to roll out of it if she feels uncomfortable. Or she should learn to keep physical distance.
Or keep her hands to herself.
Keep her hands to herself.
Yeah.
The other one that really bothers me, a lot of women will dress very provocatively. I don't mean they dress nicely and in well-fitted clothing and in heels or the red lipstick, heels, even a slight bit of cleavage, just a barely amount, like a normal. Maybe a sleeveless shirt, things like that. I don't see as they have to be provocative. But when a girl is in that obvious, like going out
she's looking for a man,
yeah. And then if guys give her attention, for her to treat him as though there's a problem with him.
Assuming he's being respectful, right?
No, I'm going to give a little more leeway than that.
Okay.
I don't like the wolf whistling at all. I think I don't like it. But if a group of 4 or 5 girls are hoeing it up on Sunset Boulevard on their way to the clubs, and a car of guys drives by, and these girls are quite obviously out for attention. They're displaying their wares. They're and the guys say something to them.
Right.
I don't think it's fair for the girls to act as though, well, this is my body, you shouldn't look at it. Like that's the one that bothers me the most, is if a girl's wearing a very low cut blouse or very tight, and then my eyes are up here. That attitude, it's like, I'm a straight woman and my eyes are naturally drawn to something that I don't see every day.
Right.
Right.
Well, I was going to say we should probably pause here for the autistic people in the audience that, men have 3 mating strategies. One is you get with a woman, provision resources for her, create children with her. Yeah. Another one is the short-term mating, long-term mating strategy. Another one is the short-term where, you just put a baby in her and leave. Yeah. And depending on how women present themselves to the guy, can trigger one of those 2 mating strategies. Yeah. And what's his name? Brett Weinstein and his wife Heather Hang talked about that on Joe Rogan about how men have these 3 different mating strategies, and depending on how women present themselves to the man, triggers.
What's the third? You mentioned the one. Oh, that's not my preference. Right. Okay, sorry.
So
I was like, I don't consider that
it's a mating strategy.
A mating strategy. Okay, sorry.
So
I wasn't expecting that answer.
Oh. Okay. So the depending on how women present themselves, say what they're doing is they're saying to the man through nonverbal means. Yeah. This is the mating strategy. Hello,
but
gentlemen.
no woman dresses in a way to provoke rape.
No,
let me clarify that.
No, that's not what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
No, for the first 2, women will present themselves in a way that says, "Hello, I want mating strategy number 1," or "Hello, I want mating strategy number 2."
Yeah.
Right, and then especially when they present themselves with mating strategy number 2, and then they act all shocked.
Yeah.
where they pretend to be shocked. Although I wonder, are they that stupid?
But then I'm the other one. I'm the present yourself with mating strategy number 1. And once you've already gotten to know the guy, then you show up. I think we talked about this the other day. You show up on the 3rd date or the 4th date. Once you've decided, then you're like, oh, hi. I know you're used to seeing me in my glasses. And
right. But that's how normal, healthy human beings
then you
proceed.
go from a librarian to the,
you look
what do they call the prude in public?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh my God, I've never seen you before.
Right.
And then you're like a 90s fantasy film.
Right. I've seen some of those. Yeah. But the women will pretend like they don't know. It's like they're pretending to be autistic. Like, oh, I don't understand why are the men looking at me?
No. It's you. They're not pretending to be autistic. They're pretending to, this is me. This is my body. This is how I choose to. I don't dress this way for you. I dress this way for me. Mm-hmm. Body confidence. And then they treat you like you're disgusting because you act like a male.
Yeah.
Because you have a response.
Well, I act like a male in the 21st century that I just don't look at women when I go out in public. But
it's so sad. It's so sad because it's so true for so many men. It's depressing because I'd like our species to continue on. But anyway, so that we just spent a lot of time talking about that one particular thing. But I think that's the one that men
probably encounter most commonly. Yeah.
Most commonly, especially nowadays with this whole Instagram era. Yeah. Like the girls, you'll message somebody or you'll give her a compliment, and other guys will dogpile and talk about how disgusting you are, and it's like. Slide into your DMs.
Right.
Hello, my lady.
Yes. There's also the girl bullying strategy where they involve men. A strategy of let's you and him fight. Where
okay. So a girl, usually it's if she's out with a guy, either usually married women might not do this, but a girl that's either in a relationship or new, just dating a guy, will put herself in a situation where she's confrontational with another male. Mm-hmm. And then step back and make this guy defend her honor. Mm-hmm. And the thing that bothers me about that, and I've told you this, is that why do those two guys fall for it?
I don't know.
Like, does he really? He should get rid of her because she's going to get his nose broken. Or worse, he's going to end up with a criminal record because of her. Yeah. And it's usually never the two guys fighting over the girl in that instance. Mm-hmm. There are situations like that where a girl will date multiple guys to incite jealousy among them, to watch them fight. And that's disgusting. I understand that's very primitive thinking, like, let me see which one of these
wins. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that's like in the animal kingdom, that's more natural. But come on, it's 2019.
Yeah. It's the current year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this translates into adult female bullying.
Which we've already covered that.
We covered a good amount of it.
Men.
Yeah.
But also, in the workplace.
Yeah, in the workplace. Yeah, like acting helpless. For some tasks that you have to do, but
I forgot about that. Yeah, the getting guys to run errands for you and to do favors for you and to help you out with things but doing it with the intent of doing it knowing that the only reason he's doing it is because he wants
access to your crotch.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a more crude way of putting it. But knowing that he's interested in you for more. Now, I do know there's a certain age range where girls are actually retarded and do not realize. A lot of girls.
Yeah.
Guys don't want to believe this. There is an age range where a lot of girls who are coming into their own, they don't realize this guy that wants to carry her books and that wants to help her out all the time. And wants to hang out, be her buddy. A lot of times you don't realize that that's what he's doing. You think, oh, he just thinks I'm interesting.
He must want me for my mind.
Or just he's my friend.
Yeah.
They don't realize that he's...
A lot of times it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but then that really only needs to happen once or twice before you realize, hey, wait a minute. This guy's spending a lot of time with me. He's offering to help me out with a lot of things. And women should be able to pick up on it by that point. I would say by their early to mid 20s, they should be able to, and what they should have an honest conversation with him. That's what I think the solution should be. She should let him know that she doesn't like him that way, and he'll probably deny it. She can be like, okay, but still have that conversation.
Yeah.
Let him know that you don't like him that way.
Yeah.
Even if he says, oh, well, you know, because that's one thing that guys do is they'll
deny the attraction.
Yeah, and then they'll be like, yeah, I treat you like you think highly of yourself, but still,
Right.
it's better than leading him on
Right.
for another month or two, and this whole time he thinks he's getting close to you.
Right.
Because if you're in a relationship,
But even in the workplace, I don't think it has to be
dating,
with
it's
a
okay.
promise of, physical access. It could just be, oh, I'm a poor helpless girl. I can't lift this heavy thing with really not
okay,
heavy
lifting
or
heavy
whatever.
objects is different.
Or
That
not,
goes
or
down
not
to
even
the
necessarily
boot
heavy
straight.
objects, but just doing something for a lady in the workplace.
Yeah.
Especially if it's the only girl there, she could be treated like the princess.
If the guys are doing a disproportionate amount of labor
Yeah.
without getting, and it's not being
Not like
recognized.
tit for tat. Yeah.
It's not being recognized in any way.
Yeah.
Then I think that's using. She should. Yeah. There should be. It should be openly recognized.
Right. Yeah.
That what's going on.
Yeah.
Or else it's just going to breed hostility.
Yeah.
And then the other bullying in the workplace is female on female,
Yeah.
which is.
You mentioned that about the mentorship thing.
Yeah, so I have a background. About like my mentorship stuff. It was usually much younger women, but like young, like 12 to 13. So a woman who's in like her mid to late 40s who feels as though she's been told by society that she has no value past a certain age, whether it be 25, 30, 35, different guys agree on a different number. She takes that out on the younger woman, and instead of, not always, but this is the toxic femininity part. So whereas it's been proven that women in the workforce of different ages working together, that's actually quite beneficial, not just for the workplace, but for each of them, right? Because they're forming a bond. But what they do is there's this because the younger woman has higher sexual market value just based on youth, and often that comes along with looks. She is perceived as the enemy, even if there's no competition for a male. It's like a weird, it's like still ingrained in there to compete. This older woman could be happily married with children. None of the men in the workforce or in the workplace are prospects for her. And yet she'll still treat that woman poorly.
Like a threat.
Yeah, like she's a threat. And it's really unfortunate.
Do you think it's an unconscious thing?
I think sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times the women, because the younger woman, especially if there's a large age and skill disparity, she sees that this woman as ignorant. Like she's stupid. She doesn't even know how to work the fax machine. I've been doing this for this many years. So it's that she feels like this girl so this is the other funny thing. This woman forgets that she was in her position at one point and she was getting that same leeway. Guys were being nice to her.
Yeah.
People were, if she didn't show up till 9:15, she was cute.
Yeah.
But she forgets that. And I think she resents it. So. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, the bullying, it can turn into full-blown bullying, but I think we have enough, especially in large corporations, we have enough in place now with like HR departments that it doesn't happen as much in a large company.
Right.
Yeah, they're pretty good at like reacting to that.
Yeah. Well, there's also, among adults, there's also, with divorce court, child custody disputes.
That was the other big one. Oh God, we could be here all day. I think you guys, nobody is watching this that has not
heard about those horror stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I get into, I had a couple of hour-long discussion with Karen Strawn a couple of years ago. It's actually a privated video. We never even posted it publicly. About kind of that whole thing. That's where like the men's rights act. If you guys don't know about that, well, first off, climb out from under that rock you live under.
Yeah.
And look up like Honey Badger Radio. There's a lot out there. With the laws do favor women more. Now I have heard cases more recently of like women losing their children, but they have to be really bad mothers. Really bad mothers. Really bad. So it's it's unfortunate. Also, women are the gatekeepers of whether or not a baby survives, which regardless of your political views, I think a lot of women use that. That would fall into the toxic femininity when a group of women. So to go back to the bullying woman on woman, female on female. When a political group the women in that
yes,
political
yes.
group decide
Now we're at a
that they are
national
the
level, yeah.
mouthpieces for women in America or whatever nation.
Yeah.
We'll use America.
Okay.
They
Hypothetically, America.
they form these like women's what are we going to call them, a coalition?
Yeah.
They form these groups, right? And then they have these marches and they go to Washington D.C. and they pick out the speakers, and all the speakers agree with one another. Well, what they do is they say, these are women's views. These are what women are allowed to believe politically. These are who women are allowed to vote for. If you don't vote for these people, you hate women. You have internalized misogyny. Mm-hmm. That in itself is that toxic femininity. It's that telling women you can be whatever you want. You can think outside the box. You can do anything in the world except the things that you want to do that don't align with what we want you to do.
Yeah.
You can't have the views that we don't agree with. Because I think when they say that, it's so smug and arrogant for them to just assume every woman is going to vote for the same candidate.
Yeah, if you actually look at it, I think either, I don't remember if it's slightly in favor for pro-life if you just look at women.
Yeah.
In surveys, they're slightly in favor of pro-life, or it's about half and half.
Yeah. But even the ones that are pro-choice, you can break down the pro-choice to pro-choice up to X amount of weeks, pro-choice in the instance of rape, and which even pro-life women, you talk to pro-life women, they'll agree in certain instances that's not pro-life, that's prolonging suffering.
Right, yeah.
Right? So I'm sick of that argument. They also make it sound like there's this huge percentage of women that find out they're pregnant at 35 weeks.
Yeah.
If it took you that long, you've got severe morbid obesity because your body cannot hide a baby that late in the game. And, I think with our technology, we can do screenings much sooner, which is going to also protect the woman in the chance that she actually does need to have an abortion for, like, say the baby is not going to survive. She can get that abortion much sooner. And she knows her options much sooner so that it's not. And then a couple, like say if it's, they can heal quicker and they can move on to having another baby.
But it's kind of interesting that small group of politically active women can dominate the conversation for the rest.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I think, was it the Women's March or one of those, pro-life women weren't even allowed to be there. Yeah. Like women that were wearing, like MAGA hats and such weren't even allowed there. It was headed up by celebrity women. And they called it the Women's March. They should have called it the
Leftist Women's March or something.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an overall Women's March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the gate, I don't want to use the term gatekeeping, but they assign what beliefs you're allowed to have as a woman. Yeah. And the same thing with, if you look back at the Kavanaugh or any of these, when it comes to due process.
Yeah, they want to throw it out.
I got in trouble. So what fractured me was Gamergate. That was what made me have to come out as an anti-feminist. Because Gamergate was too big for me to shut up about it. Yeah. And that I couldn't give an opinion on Gamergate.
And there was that recent suicide too.
Yeah, and Oh, okay, again, dev, another
bullied into suicide.
Yep, and the only reason why it's big news is because it was just a popular person. But do you see anybody really switch the genders? How do you think we'd be?
Oh, that guy would be in prison or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I mean, we could go down this. There's like 100 things. I really wanted to boil it down to the 3, which is the bullying and how the cry bullying too. That kind of goes along with the bullying, the family court. But I don't have the emotional energy. Yeah. No, I don't want to start crying on camera. Oh, okay. So I've read way too many stories, and that's just one of those emotionally draining. If people aren't aware of that, it's not that I don't want to cover it. Yeah. It's that it's a very depressing topic. Yes. And that I think is probably the worst, because you're dealing with men's offspring and children. Yeah. And you're actually, that woman is destroying the lives around her. Yes. And then the third one was the one you just mentioned. I just forgot. About like the women, like
the small group of women dominating the Women's March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Political opinions.
Yeah. I wonder how they're so effective that way, though, to silence everyone else.
They're
just organized.
Men let women speak. I mean, you see, even on this.
Well, no, I meant like among like the pro-life things. Since like I said, I think it's either about half are pro-life or a slight majority are pro-life among women. Yet they're the ones that are silenced. Is it just that the pro-choice are better organized?
No, I think it's that in that particular case, the celebrities that were getting on stage might have been
part of it.
It was that. Yeah, I believe that it was the political arm that was putting that on that got in control of it. Were the ones. And then, they like to, it's funny that they'll use, especially when they talk about like LGBT and such, they'll talk about like intersex as though it's a third sex. So they'll blow up like 0.00, I don't know the exact number, but they'll blow up a teeny tiny sliver of a 1% as though it's a third gender. And, however, they try to minimize the amount of women who believe like that are pro-life. They try to minimize that down to where it's like just the extremists.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
And
then now we're pushing into the infanticide conversation, which is
something else,
just beyond me. How we have people that are now discussing publicly whether or not it should be okay to pull it out and kill it before it gets its first breath, because the Bible says that that's okay. You're weird. Not aware?
You mentioned it before.
I'll point you in that direction later.
Yeah.
But it's pretty disgusting. We have a Democratic presidential candidate. He's gay and he's married, so he really has no skin in the game.
Right.
But he went on a talk show and made that statement. So, yeah, pretty crazy. And the thing is, so this is the funny thing. It doesn't matter whether or not I'm pro-life or pro-choice. Just for me to say, you know what, that might be kind of cuckoo. Like, I think you're kind of taking it to the extreme. Immediately, I'm an outcast. Just the fact that I questioned anything. Same thing with due process. I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. Same thing with due process. For me to say,
there, girls, fine.
Hey, can we like not just call every man a rapist? Can we wait to hear both sides of the story?
Right.
Just making the statement, I want to wait for the evidence. Right there, you just sided with the rapist.
Yeah.
And women who make that statement are internalized misogynists. That's what they call them.
Yeah. If you want evidence in due process, you're internalized misogyny. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's toxic femininity speaking.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's taking something like what is one of the most, it is the most heinous crime you could commit against a woman, besides killing her,
or
her child. Yeah. And comparing an actual sexual assault to like being touched on the shoulder, a guy like kissing you with an open mouth at the end of a date that you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
They're blurring those lines to a point where it's like, why do guys even try?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do you think
not all women are feminists, though.
That's true.
And there are a lot of women who are feminists who aren't that level of feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Christina Hoff-Sommers, those types.
Yeah.
They're like old school feminists.
Yeah, I think we covered the topic pretty well. Yeah. So, thank you for coming on, Annika, for this discussion about toxic femininity.
Get me more hate now.
Yeah. We'll leave your email address in the description box below.
My self-hate.
Yeah.
Full display.
Yeah. And your internalized misogyny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. Everyone else, leave a comment in the comment section below.